think you have the overlay on. Oh, you got it.
You're on, Robert.
How's it going?
Don't ask how I'm doing that. Very technical.
All right.
We're normally supposed to dance, aren't we?
Or we could just look befuddled.
Yeah, that'll do. Great way of switching the backgrounds. I've never done that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're about 3 seconds behind, or 3 seconds in front of the main stream, so
Gotcha.
we're ultra fast latency.
Yeah, it's about like about 3 seconds.
All right.
Gotcha.
Going live in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome to the show. My name is Paul Webber, and you are welcome to Love Audio Production. Now, what is Love Audio Production all about? It is about audio production for beginners, and if you are on board with all of that, make sure that you say hi to the newcomers and guests alike, people that have been on for ages. Make sure you make the newcomers feel welcome. I don't know what I'm saying. I've left my script at the studio. I have no clue what I'm doing here today. But it should be fun, and we'll say hi to some people in a moment or two. But first of all, let's do this.
Love Audio.
Indeed. All right, let's say hi to some people then. We have in the house this evening, we have Rich Vibes just joined us. Thank you very much indeed, Rich. Also, Huge Demand, or Hugh Demand, which of course is Wit Profit. Hello to you. Hello to Danny Davis as well, which is fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for joining, guys. Glad to see you on board this evening. Comments will pop up on the screen, but as we progress through this evening's show. But if you do have any questions about audio production, make sure you type them in the comments, and we will get around to answering them as best as we can. What I'd like to do, first of all, is please ask you to welcome my guest this evening. Very special guest in that Robert Lee is joining us from Shalalala Productions in... Let me try and think, where is it? It's got to be in somewhere on the East Coast, and I can never remember where it is. Tell him all about it.
I was gonna joke that I'm on the planet Earth, but that's a bit of a reach on the geography humor there. So
That's
no,
pretty
just
broad.
based in Boston, broad as you can be. So, but based in Boston, Massachusetts. So, as what's the old saying? That I'm just across the pond from you.
Yeah. Hey, do you have any snow where you are, Robert? Because I know last year you showed some videos and stuff about you scraping the driveway with a load of snow. Have you had any so far this year?
Yeah, I'm still recovering from the shoveling from last week.
Uh,
It came last Friday or something like that, and
okay.
probably got about somewhere between a half to a foot of snow. So,
Wow.
yeah, so it's pretty much melting off for the most part. So, but it's just that the temperature's supposed to drop down in the 20s and the teens next couple of days. So that's gonna be fun for sure.
You,
How about you?
you're good. No, well, it's been raining. It's been cold and windy, but it's not been cold enough for snow. Not down here in the southwest. which is where I'm based. But certainly Scotland have had their fair share of snow, and also the eastern side of the country tends to get it a lot more than the western side, depending on which kind of direction it's coming in. But yeah, we're not shoveling anything at the moment. It's just you know, cloudy, rainy, wet, whatever.
I guess so. We're in good company, in other words.
You could say that. Now, listen, I wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah.
just the idea of tonight, of course, was the fact that I'm streaming from home, not the studio, because
Mhm.
I'm getting ready to take part in a 3-day online conference with some friends of mine in America, as you probably know about the EYR, which is Expand Your Reach Summit that's taking place Tuesday to Friday, Wednesday to Friday, but the launch party is tomorrow. But so I wanted everything to be set up
Right.
here at home, and I thought, well, seeing as I'm not in the studio, I thought I'd ask one or two guys to come on as guests and talk about their setup and how they get on with stuff like that. So thank you very much indeed for joining, which is brilliant. We've got let's have a look here. I can't read that. Loving the chat, guys. That says. Let me just find out who that was. Hang on a sec. Wait there.
That was
Wait there one
media
second, caller.
excellence.
Ah, oh, Media Excellence. That, of course, is Phil. Yeah, Phil England from Media Excellence, and also my boss on Zest Liverpool, which is the radio station I do a show on Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. GMT through to 2 p.m. GMT. So thanks indeed for joining, Phil. Thank you very much indeed. Brilliant. Yeah, so Robert, just to talk us through the kind of setup that you use. I know obviously you first, I think let's rewind. Let's backtrack a few steps and tell people about what you
Sure.
do as a videographer, as a producer of video, and your content. What does that all entail?
So, for videography work, it just really depends on the project given to us. Sometimes it's just bring a camera and like a wireless audio, where it could be just filming like either an interview or a testimony or such, which is totally different than if I was doing like a live streaming program like from our office here or on site, where you, as you know, you have like a lot of moving parts, whether it's the remote setup with your cameras, your audio, your mixer, cable up the wazoo, if you pardon the French, and just a matter of it's just a matter of just knowing like where your location and how you're situated as to what's the best way to set up. So,
Yeah.
and like you said, like you're in a different setup, so you're just using different tools, but just matter of just getting the job done and projecting yourself and making sure people can hear and see you for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And normally I've got a 32 track digital mixer sat underneath the camera, which nobody ever sees anyway, unless I point the camera down at it. And really, it's just a glorified
Hmm.
sound card. It's a bloody huge sound card with 32 tracks of
Right.
digital audio in and out. And it's overkill. So I don't need that. I'm proving it right now that all I've got is got a USB microphone. It's not a USB microphone. I beg your pardon. It's a condenser microphone, but it's got a special adapter called a mic mate, which you plug in to your USB socket, and it replicates the 48-volt phantom power that a condenser mic would normally need, right? So I've got that. I've
Right.
got the A5100, the Sony A5100 camera. I've also got, I do that. That's the webcam from the laptop, believe it or not, which is an incredible picture on its own. I've dialed in some colors and stuff, but that's currently what the laptop camera is producing. If I go back to that one, that's the main camera. And then I've got us on this particular one. But like I say, the sound, hopefully you can hear me. It's coming from the microphone in front of me, which is just there. And I've disabled the mic on the camera because that's awful. And I've disabled the mic on the laptop, which is again awful. So I'm kind of, yeah, like you say, making do. You make do with what you've got in order to go live. Just answer me this if you will. I know that you use a mixer when you are going live. Is that like a multi-track mixer that you've got, and what kind of stuff are you feeding into that?
So I'm using a mono price mixer, and I believe it's a, well, they say it's 8 channels, but it's like four XLRs and your four. God, I'm blanking out on the wiring on the other four. And so I gotta it's plugged into the Asus laptop through a USB connection, and I have a I'm not sure if I've got the right model number. It's a Sennheiser maybe M46 mic, and that's just plugged into the mixer
Yeah.
with a mixer going into the Asus using the vMix production to be able to output the audio so that you can hear it from your end. And I've got like one of those I forgot what they call them, but you know, like those pop filters that you put in the mics helps when you say the pa 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 pa. And just yeah, that's pretty much the setup I have here, and depending on where we are when we're like either on site shooting, you know, we may use either a different mixer or maybe we have like different shotgun mics recording the audio. So, but I
Yeah.
mean, in terms of setup, that's what I have here.
I was going to say, I mean, I don't know if you got like one of these massive cameras that you have on your shoulder or you carry by hand. Do you have like the shotgun mic on the top of that that's pointing towards your guest, or how does that work with you when you're out on site?
So, the last shoot we did in the summer, it was like covering a live event. It was like a classic horse show, and so we did have like a shotgun mic to record the audio, but it was one where we had to um have the microphone in separated from the camera just for the fact that we needed to be able to record the audio closer, and the camera was just what it is it was the camera, so it didn't matter whether if the uh if the audio was like in perfect sync, just for the fact that you're more capturing the video, and if anything the audio is more like for reference or just like for background. So it was like a different
Yeah.
it was not only it was a different shoot, but it was just a different type of program that we're setting up. So it wasn't something like a talking head like this, where if the audio and video is a little bit out of sync, you know, people might be worried that they had a connection problem, or maybe, you know, I might have had like a outer body experience when in fact it's a matter of the setup there, where it's a little bit different. But yeah, so in that instance, it was a matter that we had to set things up a little bit differently, just because it was a different shoot.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you talk about there's a slight delay, and there is because I'm using a USB mic. So the rate at which the audio comes from the microphone's pickup point, the diaphragm, if you will, down the tube through this USB connector into the USB, back through the computer, out through the stream, out through a speaker which I'm monitoring you on, by the way, because I left my headphones down at the office. Oh, oh, so there's all sorts of that going on,
It's all good.
but it's like they said before, like this, they often say, you know, people will put up with bad video as long as the audio is good, right? And you must find that when you're out on site and like you say, you're doing this horse show thing, are you recording the audio separately on a different track so that when you come to edit the video, you can match up the audio with that video? Is that how you're doing it? Just explain that if you will.
Sure. So in a shoot like that where we have like multiple cameras and multiple audio setup, it's almost like the audio that's paired with what it's recording uh, to make sure that that's in sync, so that if we do need to take that footage and to be able to edit that, we can do that in house in the post production of just being able to sync up by the audio. Um, so I would say independent in the sense is like how the audio is being paired up with the video, um, so that it progresses at its rate, and that any type of syncing in post production we can do that in our office. But in terms of like physically like recording the audio and the video separate, um, I think it's almost like it's operating on a mindset of its own, just because it's recording at its rate. So I think if anything, most of that can be taken care of it in post production. But for the shoot that we were doing, because the way it was filmed, um, there wasn't any syncing issues that we had to worry about, just because of the nature of the event that was filming. But something that may be a little bit more elaborate, whether if you're doing like a virtual event, conference,
Hmm.
convention, where the timing is critical. Um, you know, it's just a matter of just being able to employ different types of workflows to address whatever challenges that come up.
Okay. Well, it's really interesting because and I've said this to a number of people that I want to get into more um, recorded video content this year, and it frightens me because you have to record and you'll probably back this up. You have to record so much footage just to get like let's say 20, 30 seconds of completed video, right? So you could be recording for an hour and only get like 2 or 3 minutes of really good video, right?
Yeah, but I mean, generally, it's the type of video, like the type of content that you're pulling from, will let you know like as to how much you need the film. I mean, you could have so many takes of a certain shot or over a certain setting, but if it's just doing like someone's just reading a mere statement, there's only so many ways a person can read a statement to the audience.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of just like how you want to translate if you're going to do something that's edited as to how that well it effectively present to your target audience. But in a live streaming format where you're just filming it in real time, it's a little bit of a different of execution of what you're capturing and how it's being conveyed. In which case, you're dealing with the present circumstances to how it's being filmed, and you make the most of it. So,
Yeah.
a lot of it just really depends on what you're filming and the circumstance to help you determine like how much you can get and how much you can use it. So, as long as you get your point across, is what's really important. So. I
No, that,
so I wouldn't fret about it, other than making sure you have plenty of batteries in the and media card when you film. So
yeah, that's a good tip. And I know a lot of live streamers and things, when they first get involved in live streaming or even video production or whatever, they often forget that they need a permanent power supply to the camera because it very often, after 2 hours or whatever, it shuts itself down. And unless you've got a backup battery, you can't continue filming or going live because it just shuts down.
yeah, I mean, in which case a lot of the troubleshooting or the damage control or however you want to phrase it, you can usually kind of plan it out before on a shoot, just as to like know like what you need to be able to make sure that the coverage is uninterrupted. So and I'm a big advocate of like a pre-production meeting just to be able to troubleshoot so that not only identifying the circumstances of the surroundings that you're filming in, but just in terms of what you're filming, you can pretty much try to put together a game plan so that you can head off those potential problems before it exists. So, but it's just like if you're like thrown out like a person on a stranded island and just thrown in a situation where you don't have much time to prepare, that could be problematic where you don't know if you're going to be able to take care of everything. But like I said, it's just a matter of just being able to make a plan, just know what you're getting into to be able to, address those types of challenges so that if it does cut out, if you have like a second camera ready, you can just switch to that one, keep on filming while you can get some assistant to be able to go back and change out the media or change out the dead battery, and then you can just go right to
Yeah.
it. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's just a matter, just like I said, just a matter of being able to do your best to plan ahead.
You touched on
You
something
have a
just
little
then,
worried look
and
there, Fall.
well, no, it's just it's great. It's great advice, and I'm learning all the time. And you touched on a very good point. In fact, you mentioned that it's good to have a plan, a backup, and you're right. And you've created, I believe, a guide, a free guide that people can download that gives people an idea of what they might need for a hybrid event or to run an event of their own. Is that correct? Do you have that on your website? And you can tell people where they can find that.
Oh, sure. So on the website of shalalaproductions.com, in our news and blog section, we had some articles about virtual events in terms of like the give people an idea of the work that goes behind it and just identify like what types of resources or things to consider before putting together a virtual event. So that way it gives people more of an informed decision as to whether if they want to be able to do it themselves, what things they should look out for as they plan it, or if it's something where you're like, hey, I don't want to deal with it. At least you know that if you try to go and outsource the work, at least you'll be able to know how to qualify the people you bring in based on the type of answers to the questions that you have in terms of preparing for
Mm.
the event. So I can try to get the link there for you, but yeah, it's just something that since the last year, since a lot of people have gone into hybrid events, it's just a matter of just being able to make sure people just know what they're getting into, whether it's being a presenter, being in the audience, or one that has to put together a virtual event.
Yeah. So I was going to say, if we can maybe, Rich, if you're listening in the audience, Rich is moderating tonight. If he can drop the link to your website, is that where they can find it, or is there an email address that you want people to reach you on?
If they have any specific questions, they can always drop me a line at robertl at shalalalproductions.com. That's three laws. Um, and I
Sha
can
la
send a
la,
link to,
sha la la
yeah,
la.
sha la productions,
Brilliant.
and I can send the link to Rich if I can find it as to where you can find the articles. But if they go to the website and then just click on the news and media and look at the past blog entries, they should be able to see it. But
Yeah, let me see if I
I'll
can
be sure
drop
to
that in the
get
chat.
the
Hang
link
on a
over.
second. So if I go to www.shalalala productions, plural
Hmm.
productions.com.
Productions with an S, yes.
Yeah, that should have come up on the chat. Fingers crossed. And the wind in the right direction. That should appear on the chat any minute now. And it might even appear on the screen if I've triggered off the chat properly.
Yep. So we had an
Oh,
article
there you
about
go.
like
It
identifying
worked.
what are. Yep. There you go. So yeah, and then in the blog session we have an article about like what are hybrid events, you know, virtual event details that people need to know, and the latest one that released in November was even like a marketing tip of just like three compelling ways to market your virtual event. So we try to cover a little bit of everything, so that way people have a good base of knowledge as to what to expect or what to know to be better informed. And now that I think as someone had mentioned earlier, they think that 2022 is the year of hybrid events. So, what better way to get prepared but to just bone up on your knowledge and read up as much as you can, or just be able to be immersed in conversations like these,
So just to be clear then, a hybrid event is a cross between a virtual event and an actual event.
right? In person, right? So there may be some elements of an event that's in person at a specific location, combined with some elements of the program that's done virtually. You know, whether they might use a maybe like they might have a meeting of like a video meeting like you would see something in Zoom or some type of live streaming software where you see that portion of the event remotely, and then there's some things that are done in person where they may actually still have it done remotely so that people that can't be there can see it online, and those that are at the event can see it. So it's that's why they kind of call it a hybrid, just because it has a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And have you done many of these?
We're let's see. I think last year most of it has been on the remote side. The horse show that we did was actually although we did it on site, it was done for the benefit of others that can't be there remotely. So I guess you could say that that's kind of hybrid, and that there was people there that were watching the event, but it was also made available for those that can't see it virtually.
Yeah.
But for like the classic hybrid events where there's specific events purely for online and some that are not. Um, I think it's just one of those things where we're talking to potential clients that may be interested, and it's just a matter of just trying to get an idea like what they're looking for to be able to know if it's something that um we're fit for each other or not. So um so so to answer your question, yes. And as for this year, we're working on
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's early days. We're just into the beginning of January, aren't we? So that's fine. I went to a funeral today, a family funeral, and I was thinking, you shouldn't be thinking these things obviously during the ceremony, but I'm thinking to myself, well, this would be the kind of thing that somebody might want as a hybrid event. That's so that the people actually at the ceremony can see what's going on and can pay their respects and everything else. But people that maybe can't travel to that particular event and would like to pay their respects and like to see things progressing, is that something that a hybrid event, let's say, would be beneficial for? Do you think? I mean, is that too morbid? Is that going down the wrong route, or how do you reckon that works?
Well, actually, it has it has happened, or it has been provided. So I have to remember this is 2022, not 21, but a couple years ago, there were instances where, to your point, that they needed a live streaming um, service for like a graveyard site for some members that passed away for obvious reason they can't be there because of the height of the pandemic. So
Yeah,
it was an instance where we had to you know f- we had to I don't. It's always weird for me to say like film it, but to stream it so that for those that can't attend, they could be to be able to see it virtually of the event. So
yeah.
I think it's just as the matter like how much of extent as to how much people want that type of a coverage. But I think for the most part, um, it was one where they just focused on the service itself that needed the live streaming, and anything before or after, because it's so personal that there's not really much you can film other than people milling around, which you don't really need to the film that unless they're having like a someone that's doing a eulogy or such, but that's usually self-contained in the program. So I would think that it would have to be something like you would see like in coverage in the news where they would do something like that. But I think in terms of at least what we've done, at least personally, it has been more focused on the service itself. So yeah, I mean, so it's just a matter. I think if anything that's already been done the past couple of years, I think it's either they just refine the workflow of how it's being done, or maybe they may just find something that's a lot more streamlined in terms
Yeah.
of providing that type of service.
Something that I'm planning to do this year, on that kind of side of things, really, is to offer my services as providing audio equipment for things like funerals, because sometimes the place is absolutely packed with family, friends, close friends, that kind of thing, and there's a ton of people outside that can't see what's going on. And a friend of mine has supplied a funeral company, funeral directors company, if you will, with audio equipment. So a couple of speakers on stands, outdoor speakers linked into the service that's going on inside, so that people are able to listen to, if not visualize, what's going on. And
Hmm.
very often, sometimes there's a screen as well, kind of, so somebody's actually videoing the service. And it sounds awful, doesn't it, to talk about these things, but if you bring it to life to people that would like to be there but can't get into the place because it's so packed, then you know there's absolutely no reason why that can't take place. So I'm hoping to kind of offer my services to to local undertakers, if you will, funeral directors, whatever, that might need a PA system at a ceremony, at a service that they wouldn't normally have. You know what I mean? So they wouldn't go out and buy one. They wouldn't go out and they'd hire somebody in. And obviously, because of my experience, there's no reason why they can't hire me to do it. So it's something I'm looking at anyway.
Right. Cool. Yeah. I think anytime you take away one less thing for um the the funeral service home off their plate, especially of that nature, the better. I think if anything, if it's something that you're gonna pursue further, not to sound morbid, but most cases it's a matter of just trying to find out like what associations that are nearby in your neck of woods, and just either attends like some sort of a I don't know if they would call it like a networking event, but one where if you're able to like strike conversation with others, you can you can quickly find out as the if what type of common need of equipment that they may need, and it's something that you may be able to build upon. But it's I think
Yeah,
it's a matter of just if you pardon the expression that the old foot in the door as to like where to go to be able to to find out like how much of a match you are to them to be able to say, hey, I've got the answer to your challenges right here, and then be
Yeah.
able to move from there.
And I could offer my services to that organization that's looking after the funerals, and then they could recommend it to their clients, or if their clients ask them if it's a service they offer, and then they can contact me. That's kind of how it will work, I guess. Almost like an agency, you know?
Some ways, yeah, and then others like you may be able to deal directly with the particular organization or the provider and to be able to ask them directly. So it's just a matter of just being able to create your opportunities to get to that opportunity to be able to present yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, say hi to some people. We've got Rich Vibes is in the house, of course, doing the modding on the go. Look at me go. um, we've got Whip Profit, Hugh Demand, of course, and also Rob Thomas has joined us as well. Rob Thomas is in the house. Hey there, Love Audio Production and Robert.
Hey guys.
And also hi to Phil, of course, from Media Excellence as well. Thanks for joining tonight. We're just talking literally about various aspects of audio, in particular with relation to what Robert does in the video realm, which of course is live video, recorded video, events such as what we've been talking about just now, the hybrid event, whereby some of it is in person, some of it is streamed online or recorded for future purposes, that kind of thing. Um, just going back to the microphone you mentioned, you've got a, did you say you got a Sennheiser microphone?
Yep. I was trying to like switch over to my B-roll camera, but had a little bit of a connection issue. But yeah, it's connected into the mixer. It's the good old XLR hookup, and it's dynamic, I believe. So decided to make sure I'm not like too far away from it, so you only hear part of me.
Mm,
Just talk right in front of the mic. But yeah, so that's what I have right now.
that's good. It sounds great, by the way.
Well, speaking to an audio person, I had to make sure I up my audio game or make sure my voice doesn't crack so badly.
Well, you and I have had many conversations about getting audio right. Because when you first got
Yeah,
the mixer, it was kind of let's try and configure that and show you different ways around it and everything else. And funnily enough, our friend and colleague John Kowaleski was he mentioned me by name in a post that he posted recently. He got a
right.
new mixer, and
Yeah.
I took one look at it and I said almost like a horror, face, if you will, because
Okay.
he loves he loves the deep, he's got a deep voice anyway, but he loves the really kind of Barry
Mhm.
White voice that we talk about, and he turns the bass right up,
Right.
and I said first thing I would do, I said no disrespect, would be to back the bass off because at some point or other, maybe not straight away, but certainly you're going to hear that popping because the bass influences the amount of pops that your P's and F's would be across the diaphragm, particularly if he's got a microphone quite close to him, which I think he has. Eventually, that's
Right.
going to result in a pop, what we call a pop in the trade, as you know. And the reason you put a shield in front of it, a pop shield, is to stop the wind from your mouth going across the diaphragm and making that peak of audio that's called a pop. And so I said, yeah, back off the bass because he'd cranked it right up to until it can't go any further on the dial. I'm going, no, no, back it off to about 10 past 2 on the clock if you're looking at a clock. So midnight, middays here and
Right.
go a little bit further that way. So it's about 10 past the hour and you'll be fine with that. And that's what I tend to do on most of my audio is if I'm looking to change the bass, middle, and treble, if you will, on a microphone setting, I tend to go about 5 or 10 past the hour on each of those settings, and that gives me a nice sound. Just a little tip.
5:10 past the hour. Gotcha.
Yeah,
I have to
kind
be
of. Yeah,
careful not to like.
and it's all subjective anyway, Robert. It's every voice is different to somebody else's, and what you hear is generally different to what you're dialing in because when you speak, your voice reverberates around the bones in your head structure, and the back of your throat and your nose and everything else and sinuses, and they're all connected. And so we hear vastly different to how other people hear us. And so the better you
Right.
can help yourself dial that in, and then maybe record yourself and then play it back to yourself over some decent speakers, and you'll get the idea of how that sounds. There's always a good tip, really, is that if you're trying to dial audio in, um, you hear your audience hears it differently to how you hear it. So therefore, it's worth practicing recording, playing it back to yourself, and then seeing how that sounds.
Yeah, but it's always funny that where people have a problem hearing their own voice, that to do what you say they'd be like, oh, I gotta hear my voice, but how else are you gonna know how you sound if you don't listen to it? So I think that's why some people like to disguise their voice, and I think when they do that, it kind of throws yourself off, just because like you're hearing yourself as to how you want to sound versus how you sound to be able to make it to be better sound. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's almost like not quite a Jedi mind trick, but just one that's a matter of just working a way to be comfortable with your own voice, but at the same time be able to make the adjustments so that get find the sweet spot that you want with your setup.
Yeah, and other things are in play as well. No doubt when you're recording, when you're out in the field, you look at things like environment. You could be in a really echoey sports hall, for instance, and that's going to do your head in when it comes
Hmm.
to listening to the audio that somebody's trying to speak or interview or be interviewed. And so you look at your environment. This is okay in here because it's got plenty of soft furnishings. I've got curtains here. Um, on the side here. I've got a couple of sofas here. There's cushions on there. There's a carpet down, and everything's quite well padded, if you will. But in a big room, you've got flat surfaces, walls either side. You're going to get that kind of room noise coming back at you through the mic. So very often, sometimes you can then use compressors and noise gates in order to mitigate some of that reverb that's going to happen as a natural course of the size of the room that you've got.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when you talk about like using the space or using the resources you have to be able to build up that sound. But have you seen the new documentary about the Beatles, like the Let It Be, that Peter Jackson had have done? That's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I've heard about it, but I don't subscribe to that channel, so I haven't been able to see it yet.
Okay. The reason why I mentioned is just that, well, I mean, one, because it's done in an earlier time, I was more fascinated as to like what things they were doing to try to improve the room sound. They would show like how they were once in like in a big TV studio to move in a more intimate sound recording studio, that they had like these different, they look like cardboard, but they were like partitions. They kind of formed a wall around Ringo just to kind of help with the audio that's coming up from the drums, and it was just kind of interesting to see like the tools and the resource that you have to be able to try to improve the audio sounds. And so I couldn't help to
Yeah.
kind of geek out when I saw that. So when you said that, it just kind of reminded me of that. Not to say that I expect Ringo to pop up any minute now as we talk. So
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That's even back in the day. Well, I don't know if you know this, but main studios, recording studios back in the day, back in the 60s, used to use a thing called an
hmm
echo chamber to create
hmm
any echo. So it was actually a room with two microphones. And depending on how far apart those microphones were, depended on how long the echo would be. So yeah, it fascinates me how back in the day they used to create echo using big spaces, but miking it up. So hello, hello, that kind of thing, and like reverb and stuff like that would be done in a tube or in a big kind of thing. Um, Plate reverbs back in the day were actually plates of metal that the sound would bounce off to make that kind of high tinny kind of echo and reverb that people strive for these days, which you can dial in using a plug-in. you know,
exactly.
just fascinates me the whole audio realm anyway.
Yeah. Must be a hoot whenever you have Navy men talking about the sonar and everything like that. So get to see that how they could quickly transition into the audio music world for that reason.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you have any questions, by the way, just drop them in the comments. Let's have a look here, 5-2. We've got about 5 minutes left before we end the stream. Um, Rich Vibes saying, I got told the other day I have a lovely voice and they loved my accent. Brilliant. Glad to hear it. Um, Rich saying hi to Rob Thomas, vice versa. So that's cool. So look here. Just remember, Rich was talking about the funeral directors and venues earlier, saying just remember that most venues book in hour slots, i.e., Torquay Crematorium, which is where I was today. He said he had recent experience on that. So, yeah, it was like a conveyor belt. We'd finished our ceremony, we were coming out and chatting to the family, and the next hearse rolled up with a coffin on board. I'm thinking, wow, hang on a minute, we're
Hmm.
not even out the door yet. So it's kind of conveyor belt, which sounds awful, doesn't it? Because but that's the nature of what we're dealing with, I guess. Um, so
Right.
yeah, it's worth bearing in mind that that these funeral homes or the crematoriums, etc., book in like an hour slots. It's frightening, really, isn't it? But there we are. Two things inevitable, Robert. One is death,
Uh,
and the other is
and the other one is
taxes. Yep,
right. I was trying to do it the
those are the two
YMCA route,
inevitable
but
things.
you get the idea.
Robert Lee from Shalala Shalala Productions.
Three loss.
Three la la la's, yeah, yeah. Sha la 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 Productions. Been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Paul. Appreciate it. Always enjoyed being able to talk shop and everything here.
Yeah, it's always good. Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody for joining the stream today. Um, Rich says, first of all, Wit says, still here and enjoying the conversation. And then Rich says, nature of the beast, unfortunately. Yes, it is. It's the times we are living in. But that's, as you say, the nature of the beast. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this baby up, as a certain friend of ours calls it. Not going to dance it out because I can't dance. Well, not when I'm sat down anyway. And I'm not getting up to dance either. But yeah, thanks to my
Gotcha.
guest Robert Lee from Shalalala Productions. Check him out at shalalalaproductions.com and check out his advice on um, virtual events
On
or,
virtual
or
events.
hybrid events that we were talking about earlier on. So you've got some information on your website
Hmm.
about that.
Yep.
Good stuff. Also, when's your next live stream, young man?
So, a show that I've worked on. It's a monthly program on like pop culture. It's called Pop Goes the Stream, where it's a monthly program where we do it like, roughly on the first week of each month. So we still haven't nailed down the date yet, but it'll be in the first week of February. So just look out for posts on our social media, whether it's Instagram, on Twitter, if you follow LinkedIn, we'll post the dates. But it's generally on 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9 p.m. Central European Time. So on we maybe I know like our last episode last week we talked about Dune and talked a little about the Matrix. So I think Xanthi might want to talk a little bit about the Matrix and something else. So. So that's what we got cooking, and we have one in development that's we're close to announce as to when that'll air, but we're still working on a few glitches before we can go live. So be
Okay.
on lookout for that. So that's what we got cooking so far, Paul.
Looking forward to it. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. And yeah, thanks to everybody for watching. Don't forget, if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do click the subscribe button, click the bell icon as well. That'll let you know when I'm going live next, which is generally 8 o'clock on a Monday evening, GMT, that is, of course. And if you want to get in touch with the show, you can always email hello@loveaudio.co.uk. If you wanted to, hang on, where am I going with that? That's not the one. Yeah. So if you wanted to look at the website, then that's loveaudio.co.uk. Merch you can find at loveaudio's merchstore.com. That includes t shirts and mugs. And my other channel is Love Audio Bits. And you can find that website at loveaudiobits.co.uk. All right, I think we are almost there. Robert, thank you very much indeed once again, sir.
Thank you, Paul.
And hang on a second, let's find the window where we are both at. There we are. That's that one. And yeah, look forward to seeing your streams next. And yeah, good luck with everything that you're doing.
As well as you, Paul.
Take care. Bye bye for now.
Love Audio.
I've got to speed that up. Look how slow that is. Come on. Come on, the music ended 10 seconds ago. Move on. There you go. Bye, guys. Thank you very much for watching.